What if I told you that tarot cards never actually predicted the future, and that their true power is far greater, and yes, perhaps even more scientific, than you ever imagined? Many see them as a mystical oracle capable of peering beyond the veil of time. Others dismiss them as nothing more than a collection of pretty pictures used by charlatans. But the truth, as always, is far more interesting and complex. In this video, we're going to break down the tarot deck piece by piece. We'll separate the ancient wisdom from the modern myths and figure out what it truly is: an ancient divination system or a surprisingly accurate psychological tool. Stick around until the end, and I promise you'll look at this enigmatic deck through completely new eyes, whether you believe in magic or not. And our very first conclusion might shock you. By the way, where do you stand? Drop a comment right now. Is tarot magic or is it psychology? Alright, let's start by immediately destroying the biggest myth out there. Tarot cards did not originate in ancient Egypt. They were not created by Atlantean wise men, nor were they secretly passed down by Romani barons. The true history is far more grounded. The earliest known decks surfaced in Italy in the mid-15th century, and guess what they were used for? A simple card game called tarocchi. That's right, it was just a gambling game for the aristocracy. The deck featured 4 suits, just like modern playing cards, plus 22 special trump cards, the triumphs. These very triumphs later evolved into what we now know as the Major Arcana. The mystical flair surrounding the tarot only started appearing in the late 18th century. French occultists like Etelia and Eliphas Lévy connected the cards to the Kabbalah, astrology, and Egyptian mythology. And the Rider-Waite deck, which is the one almost everyone recognizes today, didn't appear until 1909. So, the multi-century mystery is largely the result of clever marketing, not ancient tradition. To begin, let's explore how the predictive model of tarot is understood by its adherents. At its core is the idea that the universe functions as a single, unified, informational flow. All events are interconnected, and coincidence is fundamentally meaningless. There are no true accidents. In this context, the tarot deck acts as a key, a tool that helps practitioners tap into this stream and read potential futures. Believers hold that when shuffling and drawing cards, the querent, the person asking the question, influences the outcome, either through their own focused energy or via guidance from higher powers. Therefore, the resulting spread is not a random draw, but a symbolic, direct answer to the question posed. This concept closely mirrors the principle of synchronicity described by psychologist Carl Jung. Synchronicity is defined as the occurrence of 2 or more events that lack a causal link but happen simultaneously and carry meaningful significance for the observer. For adherents of the mystical view, a tarot reading represents precisely such an act of synchronicity, where the individual's internal state is reflected in the external world through the symbols of the cards. Now let's examine this same process from a psychological perspective. What exactly happens when we look at a card? We don't just see an image, we see a symbol loaded with multiple meanings. Our brain immediately begins the work of interpretation. This psychological process is known as projection. We project our own thoughts, fears, hopes, and internal experiences onto this neutral or multivalent image. Imagine you're looking up at the clouds. One person might see a dragon, another a castle, and a third the face of their dog. The cloud hasn't changed, but everyone sees something different, something that already exists within their inner world. The exact same principle applies to tarot cards. Take, for example, the Tower. While one person sees the collapsing structure as a symbol of absolute ruin and catastrophe, another might view it as a necessary liberation from the old and unwanted. The cards are not here to tell us anything truly new. They merely act as a mirror, reflecting what is already hidden deep within our subconscious. They help us pull those hidden elements into the light and finally articulate them into words. Let's dive into the deck structure and you'll see just how deeply psychological it is. The 22 Major Arcana aren't just a random assortment of pictures. Many researchers, notably Joseph Campbell, see them as a metaphorical description of the hero's journey. This is the universal story that underlies most myths, fairy tales, and even Hollywood blockbusters. The journey begins with the fools, symbolizing innocence, the very beginning of the path, and pure potential. The fool, as the hero, sets out on a journey where he encounters archetypal figures and undergoes trials. He meets the magician, willpower and mastery, the empress, creativity and nurturing, and the hermit, the solitary search for wisdom. He confronts the devil, temptation and addiction, and endures the tower, the necessary destruction of old structures. The culmination of this path is the card, the world, symbolizing wholeness, harmony, and the completion of the cycle. Therefore, a major arcana reading can be viewed not as a prediction, but as a diagnosis. Where are you right now on your personal hero's journey? The concept of the hero's journey is closely tied to the archetypal theories introduced into psychology by Carl Jung. Archetypes are universal, innate patterns, models of thought and imagery, stored within the collective unconscious of all humanity. They function as fundamental characters or narrative blueprints that resonate across all cultures. Think of figures like the wise old man, the great mother, the trickster, or the hero. Jung theorized that these archetypes manifest in our dreams, myths, art, and fantasies. Now, consider the tarot's major arcana. Isn't this an entire gallery of pure archetypes? The Emperor card, for instance, embodies the father archetype, structure, authority, and order. The High Priestess represents intuition, mystery, and hidden knowledge. The Lover's card symbolizes choice and the necessary union of opposites. And strength. This isn't about brute physical might, but the archetype of inner fortitude, the ability to tame your own inner beasts. When we work with these cards, we are essentially entering into a direct dialogue with these deeper parts of our own psyche. The card helps us recognize which archetype is currently active in our lives and how its energy is influencing our actions and decisions. If the major arcana represent the grand archetypes and pivotal turning points of life, then the minor arcana illustrate the everyday scenes of our existence. They are divided into 4 suits, and each suit governs a specific domain of human experience, a structure that strikingly parallels modern life coaching models. The suit of wands, linked to the element of fire, represents our energy, passion, creativity, career, and ambition. It encapsulates everything related to action and self-actualization. The suit of cups, or chalices, is the element of water, representing the world of our emotions, feelings, relationships, love, and intuition. The suit of swords corresponds to the element of air, the domain of the mind, thoughts, ideas, communication, as well as conflicts and the difficult decisions we must face. Finally, the suit of pentacles, sometimes called discs, is the element of earth, encompassing everything related to the material world, money, health, work, home, and our physical body. By analysing the minor arcana cards in a reading, we can precisely determine what is unfolding in each of these life domains and pinpoint the exact source of our joy or our anxiety. The actual process of divination, or as we might now frame it, a form of psychological consultation using cards, is itself a crucial part of the overall mechanism. Let's call this the ritual. A person approaches with a pressing concern. They focus, shuffle the deck, and lay the cards out according to a specific spread or pattern. From a psychological standpoint, what exactly happens in that moment? A dedicated space is created, separate from the hustle and bustle of daily life. It's akin to setting up a psychologist's office. This ritual helps the individual shift their attention from the external world toward their inner self. The monotonous act of shuffling the cards can induce a mildly meditative state. When the rational mind steps back, intuition and subconscious processes are allowed to surface. The mere fact that you dedicate time and mindful attention to your problem is inherently therapeutic. Furthermore, the structure of the spread itself, where each position has meaning, such as past, present, or hidden factors, helps organize chaotic thoughts and allows one to view the situation from various, often unexpected perspectives. The key element that makes the tarot truly work is the power of narrative, or simply storytelling. A reading isn't a collection of separate, disconnected predictions. It's the canvas upon which a story is built. The reader, whether a professional tarot practitioner or the individual performing the spread themselves, takes on the role of the narrator. Their job is to connect the symbols on the individual cards into a single, cohesive, and understandable narrative. Here's the card representing the past, here's what's happening now, and here is where it may lead. The human brain is hardwired to love stories. We think in stories, we understand the world through narrative. A well-told story provides meaning to otherwise scattered and disparate events. When we receive such a narrative about our current life situation, it helps us see the bigger picture, identify cause and effect relationships, and find inherent meaning in what is happening. Essentially, we are collaborating with the cards to create a therapeutic myth about ourselves. This narrative can offer a fresh perspective on a problem, suggest an unexpected solution, or simply provide a much-needed sense of control and understanding, which in itself is highly effective at reducing anxiety. This is where another powerful psychological mechanism comes into play: confirmation bias. This is our tendency to seek out, interpret, and recall information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs or hypotheses, and conversely, we tend to ignore any information that contradicts them. How does this manifest with tarot? Let's say you're worried about your job security and you fear being fired. In your spread, you pull the 10 of Swords, a card depicting a figure pierced by 10 swords. Your brain immediately latches onto this card, declaring, "See, I knew it. It's over." You will likely ignore the adjacent Sun card, symbolizing success and joy, or the Ace of Pentacles, suggesting a new opportunity. Instead, you choose the interpretation that confirms your existing fear. This is precisely why tarot readings often feel so accurate. They don't actually predict the future. They illuminate what we already believe or subconsciously fear. A skilled tarot reader's job is to help you see the entire picture, not just the single piece that confirms your anxieties. We often hear that reading tarot demands intuition. But what exactly is intuition? Mystically speaking, it's the ability to pull information from external sources, from the cosmos, or perhaps from higher powers. From a cognitive psychology standpoint, however, intuition is simply the result of rapid, unconscious information processing built entirely upon our past experiences. It's our brain's skill at instantly recognizing patterns and making quick deductions, skipping the need for lengthy, step-by-step logical analysis. When an experienced reader looks at a spread, they aren't just seeing individual cards. They see the entire composite picture, the dominance of specific suits, recurring numbers, the interplay between symbols. Their brain, trained through thousands of readings, instantly captures these patterns and delivers a cohesive, holistic interpretation. Think of it like an experienced doctor diagnosing an illness based on subtle, barely noticeable symptoms, or a grandmaster chess player seeing a winning combination several moves in advance. This means that working with tarot is an excellent training ground for developing exactly this type of psychological intuition. You learn to trust your first impressions and become adept at noticing the subtle connections between seemingly unrelated events. So, what is the ultimate conclusion we draw? The tarot is best described by the metaphor of the mirror. Unlike a crystal ball, it doesn't show us something external or inevitable. Instead, it reflects us back to ourselves. A tarot spread is essentially a snapshot of your inner world at that specific moment in time. It reveals which thoughts dominate your mind, Swords, what emotions you are experiencing, Corpse, your current energy level, Wands, and how you perceive yourself in the material world, Pentacles. It highlights your hidden fears, secret desires, internal conflicts, and untapped resources. And this is incredibly valuable. Why? Because often we don't truly realize what's happening within us. We live life on autopilot, suppressing our emotions and ignoring the quiet voice of intuition. The tarot, acting as an impartial mirror, simply says, "Look, this is what is inside you right now. What are you going to do about it?" It is not a prediction, it is a diagnosis, and only after proper diagnosis can you prescribe the right treatment. The world of tarot is absolutely saturated with myths and superstitions that frankly have nothing to do with the system itself. Let's debunk some of the most popular ones. Myth number 1, you shouldn't buy your own deck, it has to be a gift. This is total nonsense. Actually, the opposite is true. You should choose your deck yourself, intuitively. Find the one whose images resonate with you and truly call to you. Remember, this is your working tool. It's like picking out a specialized instrument or a favorite book. Myth number 2. You shouldn't read for others because you'll take on their bad karma. This myth is based purely on fear. If you view tarot as a psychological tool, you are simply helping someone gain better self-understanding. Think of it like having a deep, heart-to-heart conversation with a friend. The key is to maintain proper ethics and never impose your own interpretations. Myth number 3. Reverse cards always signify something negative. Absolutely not. A reverse card might indicate blocked energy, an excess or deficiency of the card's core qualities, or simply point toward internal rather than external processes. It's just another layer of crucial information. Ultimately, these myths create unnecessary barriers and mystify what is actually a simple, elegant tool for self-discovery. One of the most fascinating and practical uses of the tarot lies far beyond fortune-telling and traditional psychological analysis. It's actually a powerful tool for brainstorming and jump-starting creativity. Imagine you're a writer facing a serious plot hole. What's the next logical step for your main character? Just draw a card. Let's say you pull the Chariot. That might immediately suggest a journey, a rapid movement forward, or the necessity of taking firm control of the narrative. Or perhaps you're an entrepreneur developing a new marketing strategy and you draw the High Priestess. That could suggest banking on mystery, creating intrigue around the product, rather than showing all your cards up front. The cards essentially function as a random idea generator. They knock our thinking out of its usual groove and force us to look at a problem from a completely new angle. Each card is a miniature world of imagery and association that can trigger a chain of unconventional thoughts. Many artists, designers, and even engineers use this method to overcome creative blocks and find fresh solutions. It's a purely cognitive exercise, zero mysticism required. There's another cognitive bias that helps explain why tarot readings often seem incredibly accurate. This is known as the Barnum effect, or sometimes the Forer effect. Essentially, it describes how people believe highly generalized personality descriptions are tailored specifically to them, even though these statements are vague enough to apply to almost anyone. Horoscopes are the classic example of this. Phrases like, "You sometimes lack confidence, but when push comes to shove, you can be surprisingly decisive," or "You strive for independence, yet deeply value the support of your loved ones," could apply to 99% of the population. Many interpretations of tarot cards, especially those given by less experienced readers, rely on this exact principle. Think about statements like, "Your life is currently undergoing a period of transformation. You're about to face an important choice," or "There are unresolved issues in your relationship sphere." These statements hit home not because the cards predicted something profound, but because they are vague enough for almost anyone to project their own current situation onto them. Understanding this mechanism is crucial if you want to avoid falling for the illusion of pseudo-insight. The true strength of the tarot is found in its symbolic language. Humanity thought in symbols long before written language even existed. Cave drawings, ornaments, religious iconography, these are all methods used to transmit complex ideas through simple yet powerful images. Our brain is evolutionarily hardwired to decipher symbols. When we look at the Sun card, we unconsciously access a deep layer of meanings: joy, clarity, warmth, success, vitality, and consciousness. When we see the moon, we access intuition, mystery, the subconscious, and cyclical flow. The tarot is an incredibly rich and meticulously designed symbolic system. It weaves together elements of astrology, numerology, mythology, and alchemy. Every single detail on the card holds significance. The colour of the characters' robes, their posture, the objects they hold, and the landscape behind them. The study of tarot is essentially the study of this universal language of symbols. By learning to speak it, we gain a key, not just to understanding the cards, but to a deeper comprehension of art, myths, dreams, and ultimately ourselves. We begin to see hidden meanings everywhere we look. Given all this, it's hardly surprising that tarot has found its way even into therapists' offices. It is important to state up front, tarot is not therapy, nor is it a substitute for it. However, some specialists utilize the cards, or dedicated metaphorical association cards, which function on a very similar principle, as a supplementary tool. How does this work in practice? Say, for example, a client is struggling to articulate their feelings or can't quite pinpoint the core issue. The psychologist might suggest they blindly select a card and then describe what they see and what emotions the image evokes. In this scenario, the card acts as a stimulus, a launching point for dialogue. It helps bypass the mind's defensive mechanisms and speak directly to the subconscious. By discussing the image, the person is essentially talking about themselves, but in a safe, metaphorical framework. This process helps uncover hidden conflicts, fears, and deeply held beliefs that might remain unnoticed during typical conversation. Ultimately, this proves once again that the power of these cards lies not in magic, but in their capacity to serve as a catalyst for deep introspection. But for all its advantages, there is a flip side, a much darker aspect to using tarot. This is the danger of dependency and the complete abdication of personal responsibility. When someone starts consulting the cards for every trivial matter, what should I wear today? Or should I call him? They stop trusting their own judgment and lose the ability to make independent decisions. They effectively shift the responsibility for their entire life onto a few pieces of cardboard. This is an infantile mindset that leads directly to passivity and a serious loss of control. Instead of analysing the situation, weighing the pros and cons, and committing to a difficult choice, the individual searches for a ready-made answer externally. This becomes particularly dangerous when dealing with major life decisions concerning health, finances, or key relationships. The cards can suggest a productive direction for reflection, but they must never become a crutch or your sole advisor. The healthy approach is to use tarot for additional self-awareness and insight, and then, armed with that information, make a conscious, responsible decision entirely on your own. This is the essential philosophical conflict underlying the entire debate surrounding the tarot, the tension between fatalism and free will. The predictive approach implies that the future is, to some degree, predetermined. The cards simply reveal this inevitable script, casting us as merely passive observers in the theatre of our own destiny. The psychological approach, conversely, maintains that the future is completely unwritten. It is fluid, multi-layered, and actively shaped by our daily choices and actions. In this context, the tarot doesn't show you what will happen, but rather what might happen, with a crucial caveat: if you continue on your current path. The cards illustrate the most probable trajectory of events given your present state and behaviour. If you don't like that trajectory, you absolutely have the power to change it. The Tower card, for instance, doesn't predict that your house will literally collapse tomorrow. It signifies that a deep, pressing need for radical change has matured in your life. If you ignore this need, those changes will inevitably manifest as a crisis. But you are presented with a choice. Either you initiate these necessary shifts gently and consciously, or you wait for life to do it for you, but in a much more abrupt and harsh manner. Recognizing tarot as a powerful tool for self-reflection leads us to a crucial rule. The way you formulate your questions truly matters. An ineffective or closed question usually starts with yes, no, or when. For instance, will I get this job? Does he love me? Or when will I finally get rich? These types of inquiries immediately put you in a passive waiting position. They imply that you have no control over the outcome. A constructive, open question, however, focuses on exploration and seeking possibilities. It puts you in the position of being an active creator of your own life. Instead of asking, will I get this job? Try asking, what can I do to significantly increase my chances of getting this position? Or, which of my strengths should I highlight during the interview? Instead of, does he love me? Ask, how can I actively improve our relationship? Or, what blockages are preventing me from building a harmonious partnership? Can you feel the shift? The right question doesn't seek a predetermined answer. Rather, it helps you uncover resources and create a concrete action plan. This is the essential transition, moving away from mere fortune-telling and toward conscious, intentional self-work. When we talk about tarot, we absolutely have to mention the most popular and influential deck in the world, the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. Created in 1909 by Arthur Edward Waite, a mystic and member of the Order of the Golden Dawn, this deck sparked a true revolution, and that was all thanks to the artist, Pamela Colman Smith. Before this deck, most tarot systems only featured narrative scenes on the Major Arcana and the Court cards. The Minor Arcana pip cards simply showed the corresponding number of suit symbols. For instance, the Seven of Cups just had 7 cups drawn on it. Pamela Smith was the first person to illustrate every single one of the 78 cards, filling them with clear, vivid, everyday scenes. That same 7 of Cups transformed into an image of a person standing before a choice of 7 cups, each filled with different gifts and temptations. This made the tarot far more accessible and intuitive for a wider audience. People no longer had to memorize dry, rote meanings. All you had to do was look at the image, and it told the story itself. It is precisely thanks to Pamela Smith's genius that the tarot has become such a powerful psychological tool. So, what's the final verdict? Is it magic or psychology, an ancient predictive system, or a modern tool for introspection? It seems that the truth, as is often the case, lies not in the extremes but somewhere in the middle. Or, more accurately, it depends entirely on the person holding the deck. Tarot is, first and foremost, a symbolic language, and any language can be used in a multitude of ways. You can use it to write great novels, or you can use it to write malicious accusations. You can conduct scientific debates, or you can tell fairy tales. The same applies to tarot. For one person, it will be a way to connect with higher powers and glimpse the future. And if that faith helps them live their life, then why not? For another, it will be a structured method for dialoguing with their subconscious, a way to better understand their motivations and find solutions to complex problems. For a third, it's merely a source of inspiration and an idea generator. There is no single correct way to use the tarot. It is a universal instrument, and its function is defined entirely by the user's intent. It's not just an either-or situation. It's a both-and. Let's wrap things up. We've established that tarot cards are not some ancient Egyptian artifact, but rather a tool that evolved from a simple parlor game into a complex symbolic system. Their real magic isn't about predicting a fixed destiny. It lies in their incredible ability to act as a mirror to our subconscious mind. Through the mechanisms of projection, archetypes, and the power of storytelling, tarot helps us bring our hidden fears, desires, and internal conflicts to light, giving us a crucial outside perspective on our situation. So, the next time someone pulls the death card, don't panic. It's not a prediction of a literal ending, but a powerful symbol of necessary transformation. Maybe it's your subconscious screaming, it's time for a major change, and that insight is far more valuable than any fortune telling. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I truly hope you learned something new and interesting today. If you did, please make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Now for the most important question for you, how do you personally feel about tarot after hearing all of this? Do you view it as a divination tool, a psychological practice, or just a set of beautiful pictures? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really looking forward to reading your opinions.